Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
The fear thing, I think what you said about having some unknowns and uncertainties, and you kind of dig into those, and that removes fear, that makes total sense. The thing about fear being an indication of what you believe or kind of pressing into that is interesting. Because I fear, can I give you two and then kind of poke at it?
All right, man.
I fear that I'm going to die alone, for starters. And that may be just not unrelated to this discussion. But I also fear that if I don't have some means, that I'm going to lose my friends. Are those common fears?
Yeah, I think dying alone is a really interesting one. There was a guy that actually he's big in group psychology, and he actually talked about that. And this guy is an atheist, which I think is kind of a sad thing. But he basically believes that mankind invented God so that when they died, they wouldn't be alone.
Sure.
And that's his belief. But, that I would hardly disagree with.
Yeah, I'd hardly disagree with that too. And then I can also understand why he would say that. Like if he didn't believe in God, because we desperately don't want this life to be it. You know what I mean? I think we all just have that within us. And then as, Christians, I think it's, well, for one, I think that's true. Yeah. And I'm just so glad it is, because it doesn't mean, but I mean, like, I don't mean like necessarily after the death. I don't know why, just for some reason, I just fear I'm going to die alone. Yeah, which I know that if my wife is still alive when I die, that's not going to be the case.
Or somebody else. Yeah, you're going to have you'll have other people around. But the reality of it is, a lot of people have that fear. That was your question, so that's where I went with that. The second one was
I fear that if I don't have some means, that I'm going to lose my friends.
Yeah, and it comes down to that value thing again. We want to go back to that again. So one of the beauties of living your life via values is you don't have to have any money whatsoever to express your values. For example, I can go sit in a hospital room with a friend of mine that's sick, and that didn't cost me a dime. And maybe that's a value, is showing love to other people. That doesn't cost anything. There is a really good psychological, it's, these XY axis type of thing. And there are things that are really, really glamorous on the top, and there are things that are not glamorous on the bottom, and there are things on the left-hand side that are more important or less important. The left side, now that I think about it, is less important than you think. The right side is more important than you think. And up on the glamorous but less important you think is youth. And you know what the second one is? Money. Because it's glamorous, but it's actually less important than we think. You know what's down on the bottom right-hand side, which is more important than you think, and it's not glamorous, but dancing and laughing and just friendship and just just spending time with people. And time is a big one. Time is a huge one down there, because we get to the end of life and we go, man, I thought I would have done more. I thought there would be more, and we don't have time. You can't, put it in a bottle, as one old songwriter put it.
Yeah, I can totally attest that. Having had some means, and then having experienced having basically nothing, that I can attest to what you're saying, which is, at the end of the day, the most important things are the most important things, and don't include money.
Yeah.
But also, having experienced kind of both ends of the spectrum just a little bit, I'm looking forward to making better money and having more means, because you have more options and you can do more things with it.
That's absolutely true. Now, the other side, yes, and as a matter of fact, there was a doctor that actually, he got to his retirement years and he said, you know what, I spent my whole life chasing money. And he says, I realized at the end of it that that's all it really gave me, is some options. And and it's really interesting, because it's a double-sided coin, because in America we can tend to be very materialistic. I was taking an anthropology class in college, and this guy goes, hey, there are these tribes over in Africa. Let me tell you about them. And he says, in the tribe, cohesiveness of the tribe is absolutely critical. And he says, matter of fact, if you have one person in that tribe that has something that the other people want, it is incumbent upon that person to get rid of it. because it creates jealousy amongst the other members and it breaks down the cohesiveness. And on the other side of the coin can be sometimes when we have more than everybody else, they're jealous of us, and it actually breaks down that level of intimacy that we can have with other people if they're jealous of us, because nobody wants that. I don't want So it can be a two-edged sword, really.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I would say in the last several months, experiencing the benefits of a strong network. And what I mean by that is, after kind of getting our teeth kicked in pretty good in 2019 and 20, none of my good friends left. Like when we had some meetings and then nothing, they all stayed. Like they probably shouldn't have, but they all stayed. And so I'm talking with, 2 or 3 of my closest friends, and they're telling me about what they're up to because I'm interested in everything and what's moving and shaking in their life. And that to me is because they're kind of crushing it. And so for me, it's like, well, those are my friends. They're killing it. I feel like I can do one or two things right now, which is withdraw from them and not talk about what they're doing, kind of take that ideal and move that ideal out of my life. Or I can rise up and try to get back into the game, lick your wounds and move on and try to, get back in the game and move forward. And that's what my network, I guess, or my friends have been really helping me do the last several months. So I feel like for people that are poor and don't have that network, though, that's where I kind of feel really, I guess, sorry for them, because they don't have that kind of draw pulling them back kind of into the way life works. I don't know, works best, which is hard to say because it's not, life might be working really great for them, but it's this idea of, if you are born in certain areas in cities or wherever it is, my gosh, it can be really hard to get ahead because you don't see it modeled.
Right.
I had the advantage of maybe not having much for a short period of time there, but I was seeing it modeled all around me.
Right.
And there's a huge benefit to that.
Yeah. And I think what you said was really, really interesting. You actually, in psychology, you did something called finding the exception. You found that you actually you said, if I don't have any money, then I won't have friends. And then what happened is you ran into the exception. When you didn't have the money that you had prior, the friends stayed. So you found the exceptions. You found that you were already thinking, you were doing some stinking thinking, as we say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a good point. I'm glad you called it out.